Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall drywall repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you.
Good morning. I feel like today we're going to tackle a topic that, as business owners, we can be afraid of. It's a scary topic. We want to do the best for our employees, but we don't know where to start. It's going to be too expensive. How do you make it work?
Well, the good news is we have a very professional partner in this.
Absolutely.
That we have been dealing with for years through our company. She's also become a personal friend of ours.
Yes.
And I'll just let you introduce her.
Yes, and she has helped us navigate, to use that word a lot, to navigate through this whole murky waters of benefits. So we would love to introduce Judy Mitchell with Xperience Benefits. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you. It's a thrill to be here.
We are so glad you're here. We've been using you for several years now. I even forgot when we started. We have so much to talk about in lines of benefits and so many things that are, options out there. But I would love to kind of talk a little bit about kind of you, because your background is very unique. When it comes to caring for people, you just have a different perspective. So I'd love to, for our audience, we have lots of friends that know each other, but we've got a lot of people that listen to this that don't know you, and we would love to just hear more about you and kind of how you got to where you are right now.
Oh, it's been a long and winding road, but it is cohesive. It comes together. I started my professional career as an oncology research nurse.
Oh.
So all of my patients were up in Washington, D.C. at Georgetown University. They were told by their hometown docs that they had end-stage cancer, 6 months left to live, and they enrolled with us hoping for some longevity, hoping for some relief from their cancer, but it was experimental. They taught me at a very young age to really enjoy your life. Treat each day as a gift. Make sure that you use it well. Embrace those who are in your life. Cherish everyone that you come in contact with. And live a life that is robustly lived, because tomorrow's not promised. You could have your 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plans, and tomorrow someone might give you that whammy that you have a 6-month left to live cancer diagnosis. I have lived my life based on that. So I've lived a very robust life. My motto is, it's life artfully done. So I spend each day as much as I can to embrace those who are in my life, cherish them, go to bed exhausted, and wake up in the morning thankful that I'm up again and I have another day to use as a gift. Because of that, well, the long story is you can't stay in that line of work for very long because death was just way too common.
Right, I've heard that.
Yeah, it's something that you have to move away from. So I actually talked my way into an administrative job, hospital administration, with the promise that I get an MBA. So I did get a master's in business administration. My very last course was on estate planning, which was exactly all of the questions that my patients had about, if I had only knew that this was going to happen, I would have done all these other things, which was foreign to me. I didn't really understand estate planning or how you're supposed to go about your life financially. And I went up to the professor afterwards and said, a lightning bolt just went through me. I have to do this. This is nursing. This is caring for people, but answering the questions that truly are important for them. And he advised that I become a certified financial planner, which I did. And 2 years out of being done with the CFP, I interviewed for jobs, and they were all sales positions. I am not a salesperson. That I couldn't do the jobs that they were talking about because they were just hard sells. I actually asked one of the people I interviewed with, what if someone was brilliant at finances and they really knew their stuff and had everything in order? Couldn't I just tell them, congratulations, you did a great job? And he said to me, no, there's always something you can sell. And I bailed. I opened up my own shop. I became my own registered investment advisory, registered with the Banking Commission and the SEC, and for years treated and helped people with their finances. Similar to what I'm talking about always, it's a nursing care plan, but it was a financial plan for them. All of my clients at that point said, I hate my 9 to 5, but it pays the bills, it makes the money that I need, but I really have this idea for this wonderful business, this widget that I want to create into a business. And my patients from my former life came back to me with saying, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, make sure that each day counts, and love what you're doing as you're doing it, not having these long-term, someday maybe I'll be able to do this. So I pivoted, and I used to laugh saying I took wannapreneurs and made them entrepreneurs, made them small business owners, and helped them become successful. And what was happening is in order to get the job done, these small business owners had to hire employees. And then if they had the right heart and soul, they were wanting to take care of their people, which is a very big job on its own. And so I started looking for someone who would be able to take care of that human aspect and take care of their employees. And that's how I found Xperience Benefits. And I've always believed if you surround yourself with good people, life is easy. It's a cakewalk. And I thought, why don't I just go with Xperience Benefits and start working on the inside, helping small business owners take care of their people. And along the way, I can really use what I've always known as to how to make a business work and how to help people become very successful. And so I've always said I never have worked a day in my life because I love what I do. I bring the heart and soul of nursing to this very dry business of insurance and really look at strategies and analyzing what people need. I often said I've never sold a product, which is not true, obviously. Mm-hmm. My life is a commission-based, existence, but I really don't think of it in that way. I think of how can I put a strategy together that's going to help everyone, the employees and the employer.
Right. Well, you bring out so much to the table, from the caring aspect of nursing to ushering people into their last breath to helping entrepreneurs kind of light that candle and get their ball rolling. One of the misnomers that as a business owner I had early on is that, and it really is true, but it stopped me from making forward decisions with my employees, is just too expensive. Mm-hmm. When I worked for a larger company, they helped pay for benefits, and back years ago, and it was a little cheaper, to actually have health care back then. It seems to have gone up in cost. And then I quit, and I had COBRA, and then I was paying the full lump of the insurance. Mm-hmm. And I just realized it's really expensive. And then when I started researching it, I thought, well, maybe it's just too expensive to even offer our employees. We're just too small of a company. We don't have what it takes to do that. But when I talked to you for the first time, you brought a level of opportunity that I didn't know existed for a small business owner. And I'm not sure, still to this day, a lot of business owners understand that there are other options out there than the typical traditional stuff. I know there's multiple tiers to what you offer and what you can provide, but I'm curious, maybe we can step through some of those things quickly just to kind of unpack. It's not just about, Aetna or Cigna.
Yeah, and it's certainly not an all or nothing
Correct.
Yeah.
type menu.
Absolutely. And that's really what I do is I'll sit with the employer and find out financially where they are. Everyone has the right heart and soul to want to take care of their people. And those are the kind of employers that I want to work with first and foremost. But then there's the budget. And how do you actually make this work? Because it is expensive. The tiers that we can go through, the strategies, is the full-blown health insurance, like you said, United Healthcare, and Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Typically, if you want to use a rule of thumb, the very least expensive plan is going to be about $400 a month. Could be $300, but I always like to go a little bit more
Right.
and then, be able to back down from it. So the carriers require that the employer pays half of that cost. So that's about it's going to be $150 to $200 per month per employee cost, which is expensive. That's a huge commitment because insurance is a contract. You're going into it and saying that, you're going to commit to this budget. So you start with that. What we also do is we do a strategy where we layer with that major medical insurance. But there are companies where they can't get into the major medical component of it because of budget. We have strategies where they can offer ancillary products, supplemental, that will help their employees in case something does happen. There's some money that comes to their pocket. They get to use that for whatever expenses they want. It could be applied towards the medical expenses, or it could just to be pay rent. If they used up their sick days and they need some income to be coming in. And those are voluntary, but we could also work with the employer to say, let's set up an employee benefits bank where the employer comes up with the amount of money that they're willing to put in and can afford. And that goes to the employees to do kind of like a cafeteria style. Pick what you think is most important for your particular self and your family. And that money then can get applied to those premiums, which is a way that the employer can still say, we have a benefits package. This is the portfolio that we offer to our people. We give you $50 a month, $100 a month to be able to pick some of these other supplemental plans. We also do, the group life insurance to help people so that they don't have that worry of, if something should happen to their employees. It really, we cater it to what the employer wants for their people, what their culture dictates, what's important to those. If it's a young staff, similar to what we've always talked about. If they're young, they're not thinking in terms of I need health insurance. They're into a different lifestyle at the time. And when you're young, you don't really think about what could happen.
Right.
It's not until you get into an older population that you start really worrying about your health and the issues that could come up and the costs that go with it. So it's one of those things that we will look at the strategies that are important to that company and the culture of that company, and then what's going to work for those employees. With the different strategies that we could put in place, one of the things that I think really is the most beneficial is our educational process. We actually talk with each employee and let them know exactly what the employer is offering. I make a point of congratulating the employer for having put this in place so that they understand that they're fortunate to be in that work environment because these people are taking care of you and worried about you. And then I go through each plan because all insurance is risk management. It's a tool to provide us with some relief in case something does happen. So it really just manages the risk. And I often laugh, I'm in the business of helping people secure a plan that they hope they never use.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it's going to do until something does happen. So the wonderful thing that I still think that is the most important is that throughout the year, when something does happen, I'm there for them to call and say, listen, I think I have a plan that would cover this. How does it work? And so instead of them having to pour through documents, they have me to talk to and really, problem solve and let that plan work for them.
I've actually experienced that myself several times.
Yeah. It's funny because we do have coverages, and I've had coverages in the past with other companies, and I didn't realize that, if you have a wellness check once a year, this will pay you a $60 check.
Right.
And I didn't know that. And then so many years went by, and I didn't go to the doctor, and I lost getting checked out by the doctor, but I also lost out on that benefit that I already paid for.
Yes.
As a business owner, it's hard to know where to start because we want to do something, but we don't think we can do the big stuff. So we can't do the $200, $300, $400 a month, for benefits. but we want to offer something. You walked me through this process on a part of our onboarding, where you basically were like, well, what do you want your crew to have? Now, most of our guys in the field, they're young 20-somethings. They think they're invincible. They don't go to the doctor very often.
Yeah, and in truth, a lot of them have coverage from their spouse's employer.
Right.
Yeah, and so, but we wanted to give them something, right? And so we, first of all, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. Back in the day, it was really inexpensive to do short-term disability insurance. It was a few bucks a month per employee, I think a few bucks a week for an employee. And it was one of those things that we could offer them. At that time, we actually gave it to them because we weren't doing anything else. And I wanted them to have the ability to see a doctor if they needed to, but wouldn't be a burden and wouldn't be this crazy financial issue. And you showed me the virtual medicine. Virtual medicine was kind of just coming out back then. And it was so affordable that I could do that as well for free as a benefit that my employees don't have to have.
Yeah, and take a minute, talk about the virtual medicine if somebody's not familiar with that term.
Yeah, no, it actually became very popular because of COVID. Telemedicine had been around, but it became the standard of what's going on. And it is one of the programs we use is MD Live. And it is not only available to the employees, but for a very small amount that the employer needs to pay, it's available for anybody in their family to be able to call. And it's, on an emergency basis, if something happens or you have a rash that hasn't gone away and you really want someone to take a look at it virtually, they can just give a call in. They get to talk with a professional. They will use a camera device, figure out, what they can see. They will recommend prescriptions. They can actually order a prescription for you depending on what the need is. So it does take care of a population that really isn't going to be utilizing the medical community on an ongoing basis, but has those what ifs come up in life.
Well, I've used it myself. I mean, 2 a.m. and there's an allergic reaction going on. We were able to, with our phone, my wife and I get up and say, listen, we have this problem, and they could walk us through it. I've got a great story. One of our employees here, she had a sinus infection, and she's always had sinus infections. They come a couple times a year. She didn't have the typical insurance at all. We gave her these benefits, and she said, I'm sick, I need to go to the doctor. So if she had to go to the doctor, she would have to schedule the appointment, drive to the doctor, wait in the waiting room for half an hour to an hour to see the doctor, get the prescription, come back to work, and then later on go
back out for the prescription.
So we'll say it's a 2 to 3 hour ordeal. She says, can I take a quick break? She walked into the other room with MD Live, said, hey, doc, I've got this sinus pressure in my nose. I think I got a sinus infection. He asked her the questions. He's like, yeah, I think so. I'm going to write you a prescription, send it automatically to her pharmacist, who then used GoodRx.
Yep.
And actually the antibiotics at Publix were free at the time. So she actually got a free antibiotic. So she literally took 10 minutes off of work. On her way home from work, she swung by the pharmacy, got a free antibiotic.
Yep.
And she was good as new within a couple of days.
Yeah.
All because she had the ability, even if she had real insurance, that the big boy insurance, it was still way less of a hassle for her to just to go through that process.
Yeah. It's a fantastic benefit for the employer also because instead of it being a sick day, it's something that they can take care of, at 7 o'clock in the morning and still be to work.
True.
Because, things have been taken care of. Yeah, it's been a godsend in so many ways. Most of the major medical do offer the virtual visits, which is new to many of them. But the ancillary products like MD Live have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up GoodRx because it's my go-to. Even if you do have major medical insurance, sometimes GoodRx, oftentimes, I'm going to say, is less than the prescription, drug coverage that you have through a medical policy, which is fantastic. So it gives you that extra advantage. I've often said the first dollar that you make is that first dollar you save.
Yeah.
And to find ways to be able to help people to say, here's your medical insurance, but here's another tweak. And here's another way of looking at how you handle, yourself when you use the medical community.
Yeah.
Ready to start your own business? How would you like a jumpstart? Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair is now offering franchise opportunities for strong entrepreneurs. When you franchise with Hole-in-the-Wall, we help you get up, running, and ready to start generating revenue fast. You get access to our comprehensive training program, continued support, and our proven business model that has allowed us to experience explosive growth. Achieve financial success while providing a valuable service to your community. Take the first steps towards achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.
And the MD Live it was remarkably affordable for us. I mean, I want to say it's, I don't know, $6 a month or whatever,
Yes.
Whatever for us to pay. So it was like an ancillary
Yes.
cost to us, but it was my employees may not have wanted to buy that benefit, but we just give it to them so they have it for them. And then we wanted to make sure they could, if something happened, they could get buried. So we bought them a life insurance policy. And these are little things that we were able to kind of tiptoe into. At first, we started with benefits. I immediately think of healthcare, but the other benefit was we gave them time off of work. We let them accrue personal time off, PTO, vacation time. Yeah. We started paying for holidays that most construction companies in a white-collar world, even blue-collar world, big boy companies, they all pay for your 4th of July, your Christmas. But construction companies, they don't.
Yeah, traditionally
they
don't.
just so we started tiptoeing into that benefit world. We would give them vacation time. They could accrue each week vacation time.
Yeah, and it's been a joy over the years to watch as each employee schedules a week off and they go to the beach or they take a cruise. And
Well, in my heart, the two of you are the quintessential perfect employers. I stand you up and often talk about, well, I have, a company that this is what they do. You should work towards that goal, because what you do is you've created a culture for people to guide them, to make them better human beings, to really show how you care for each other, create a work environment where, people are part of a family. And you work very hard at providing that and showing that in everything that you do, just not words, but totally your actions and how you care for your folks.
yeah, thanks for those kind words.
I've worked for companies that treat employees like commodities, and I'd never wanted to be that boss. I don't want to be a business owner that just takes for granted that someone has selected you to be their employer, because it's difficult, especially now. It's hard to find really qualified employees that want to stay. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about the benefit to the company about actually having something, because you become enticeful to quality candidates.
Absolutely. The standard phrase that you hear is attract and retain. And it's, I don't like to use it because it is that cliche, but it's so true. Glassdoor did a survey that I think it was 70% of people would prefer benefits over a pay raise. They will take a job that offers benefits over a job that doesn't. And I, on a personal level, have 4 companies that this past couple of weeks who have come to me saying, I just lost a key employee because we don't offer benefits. I need to talk to you about what can we put together as a benefits package. I'm trying to recruit engineers, and they're higher paid, educated employees. They won't come to the company because we don't have benefits. I have a nursing concern that does at-home nursing care, and they cannot get the nurses to come in because they don't have a benefits package as of yet. And so I'm working with these companies to attract the help that they need, and then be able to keep that key employee. There's some ridiculous number out there that talks about how expensive it is when you lose a key employee, not only in the cost of retraining, some advertising for a new person, then training them, having them not be dependent yet, so that you're using a double layer of other employees overseeing that
Yep.
employee.
Plus, while that employee,
That's exactly
while you're
right.
hiring, you don't have that position filled, and so you're losing productivity, you're losing hours. My Indeed bill one month was like over $1,000 just to try and find a qualified employee. My ZipRecruiter bill got really expensive just to try and find a key employee.
Yeah.
So it is easier, cheaper to keep them than it is to let them go.
Yeah.
My want is to create an environment that they don't want to leave, right? But it's hard when you have a bill to pay, or you have a sick child, or you're not feeling good yourself, and you don't have what you need to make ends meet.
Right.
So that's where we have to kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So do me a favor. Let's kind of pretend you and I are just meeting for the first time, and we're going to kind of talk through. You know that I don't have enough in the budget yet to pay for big boy insurance, as I'm going to call it. How do you step through that process with us? I mean, what are some of the things that you would coach a new business and owner on how to think about the benefit options for their employees? Where do we start?
Start with the knowledge fact that you need to offer benefits, some type of benefit package, and then to guide through what would your monthly commitment be if you wanted to offer a benefits bank. It could be as low as $25. It could be, what I have done with companies is I also do the exchange, the ACA market exchange. So I have worked with companies where I said, I will be your benefits consultant for your employees. Create a layer of supplemental products that are available to them. It could be totally voluntary, that you don't have to contribute. It does benefit you to give about $25, $50 a month. It's money if they don't choose a plan. It's not money that they get. It just goes away. They have to actually utilize it to purchase a plan. I will educate them as to what the plans will do. And then in addition to that, if it's during the open enrollment time for the ACA, I will sit and guide them through the hundreds of plans that are on the marketplace. It doesn't cost them anything to use my services. I get a finder's fee for basically finding someone on the marketplace. So they can sit on their own and go through these hundreds of plans, or they can meet with me as your benefits consultant and say, let's go through the hundreds of plans and find out what's going to work the best for you. Let me guide you, show you what one plan would do over another plan, what's going to be best for you and your family, and incorporate that so that they feel you as an employer have put me in place in their lives to be able to educate them and to advise them. And we wrap that together with the supplemental plans that are available to them. And we'll create a booklet to say, these are the things that are available. Here's the person that you can call and talk about health issues, and what kind of things you need with insurance and how the plans would work for you. And then here are the supplemental plans that you could choose from. And it creates that overwhelming feeling that somebody cares and somebody's putting together stuff for me.
You showed me options that weren't the traditional plans, but still offered medical stuff. Obviously, the MD Live, but there was the direct.
There's Redirect.
Redirect.
Yeah, there's Sedera.
And Sedera, which was a MedShare style program. I mean, I had Sedera for years because it was just one of those. It was cheaper. I was fairly healthy, but it helped pay for those big issues.
They're non-traditional. They're not health insurance. They're a membership plan, and we do also to cover that. And it's something that works for a lot of companies, especially a young population. They're a membership plan that you pay into the membership, and then the membership agrees to look at your medical conditions and satisfy the costs of your medical needs. It is a different way of looking at medical plans, because it's not insurance. It's not a card that you hand over and say, here, you take care of it. The onerous is a little bit on you with some of the bill collecting and the submitting of claims. But it's a fabulous alternative, especially if you're in the 1099 world.
Right.
It doesn't have to go through. It doesn't go through payroll necessarily. We could create it to be a payroll situation, but it could be, again, just on an individual basis if it's something that works for them.
But it gave you the ability to at least have something in case something
Correct.
happened. That was my peace of mind. Is like, you know what? If I had a heart attack today, I need to make sure that I can get the medical coverage without incurring a lot of medical bills.
Right.
And so it was a peace of mind for me. And then we were able to because it was cheaper than the
Yes.
big plans. And we were then able to layer on a couple other levels of almost like a gap insurance, and we were able to for just a few dollars a month, we were able to kind of build in some of these extra plans. So it wasn't like an all-in-one plan. It is not traditional. So, you are paying cash and you are getting discounts, and you have to
Right.
submit your invoices and stuff. It's a little different, but as opposed to spending $800 a month for a plan for your family, you're paying just a few $100s a month.
Correct.
And then you can layer on a little more protection on top of that.
Yeah. And it's been a fantastic plan. It's actually what we use as our company. It is, it does give you the peace of mind, like you said, that you have the you have the coverages. You have somebody there to support you. The membership is set up in such a way that they become advocates for you. They help you through the process also. You can reach out to them with questions that you have, and they do help you through, how to navigate the medical community
Right.
in a great way.
And then you mentioned redirect. What is that?
Same thing as Xperience. The only thing that they've added is an everyday process so that you are able to take care of the normal things that go on, your annual history and physical. They cover your colonoscopy if that's if it's a routine preventative, they'll cover the costs of that. So it has an extra layer than Sedera was something that you were going to be cash only for the everyday events, whereas Redirect has a component for what may go on in a normal course.
Yeah. Well, I had to look at when I was with Sedera, I had to look at, how often do I go to the doctor? So I go to the doctor 4 times a year, right?
Yeah.
I at least once a quarter get my blood pressure medicine renewed, and maybe I've got a cold or something. And so then I asked my doctor, well, what is the cash doctor's visit? And it was $100. So, okay, so I'm paying $400 a year to go to my normal doctor visits. I've got good RX. I've got some other plans for prescriptions. And then on top of that, I've got the Sedera. So I've got a smaller, it's not a copay, it's an initial fee. And then I've got the coverage that I need per incident.
It's the initial unshareable amount.
That's
Yes.
it. Thank you. But for the life of that incident, which I really liked, as opposed to normal insurance has this annual thing. And for me, it made a lot of sense at the time, and so at least my family had coverage for that. What other elements are there? So we've got the supplemental stuff. We mentioned supplemental. When I was being introduced into it, I always think Aflac.
Yep.
That because they're the big name.
They do a lot of advertising.
But you offer similar services, right? So talk me through that real fast.
We're full brokers, so we have Aflac, we do Colonial, we do any of the carriers that do offer the supplemental. We're there. United Healthcare has supplemental also. It depends on what's going to fit you, because we look at everything that's available and then figure out at the time what the premiums are going to be and what that coverage is, what's going to work for your individual situation versus another plan that may not be as advisable for you. And so there's many. Like I said, without exaggeration, there's hundreds of plans that we could choose from. And that's really why you go to somebody who's in the heart of advising and not selling, because I'm looking for things that are really going to work for the individual, and will discourage people from other plans to say, I don't really know in your situation if you need to take something like this.
Yeah. Well, when you say volunteer, I want to clarify. It literally means that you offer these services as a company, but the employee volunteers to pay for them separately.
Yes.
And so as a company, we are offering a layer of services, but like then we offer dental. Now we don't pay for dental, but that services is an add-on that they could choose for a very nominal fee.
Right.
And actually, even though my wife now has good insurance with dental, I still keep our dental insurance because our dental insurance is better than what
Yes.
we're getting there.
Yeah.
So that as an employee, I can then choose what add-on stuff I want to
Right.
do.
The voluntary is that it's not going to be paid for by the employer. You choose to whether you want to have it deducted from your paycheck. It is a payroll deduction, which actually gives you some advantage because it's coming off pre-tax.
Right.
And so it's even a little bit less than what you see as the premium because of the tax implication of it being pre-tax. It's money that comes out no different than any of us if you have an automatic savings account. It's money that comes out, you're not thinking about it. You now have that coverage and you have that plan. They get to choose which is going to work for them. And to backtrack a little bit, what I do for companies is not only do I sit with the employer and strategize and come up with the major plan. This is the strategy that we're going to use. I do an employee education meeting to the entire group. And then individually, I meet for about an hour with each employee just to get a feel for what is going to work for them, what is important to them, what I would recommend. And then they choose whether or not they're going to take it or not. So they either accept the plan or they waive it. We have them waive so that the employer is covered because then the employee can't hear from their desk mate that they had an accident policy and the accident policy just paid them money because of a broken bone that they incurred.
Yeah.
And that other employee who didn't take the accident can't say to the employer, I didn't know I could take that.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you did because you waived it. Here's the documentation to protect the employer.
Yeah.
And so and then they have a right and an ability to re-enroll during open enrollment. So if they decide during the year that really was a great plan, I should have taken that, they can do that during open enrollment.
Now, there are other things, there are other times, there's other events that can happen that allow you access even when it's not during open enrollment, right?
Yes.
What are those?
It's called qualifying life events. Such things as having a birth of a baby, a divorce, a marriage, moving from one neighborhood of medical concerns within one neighborhood to another, one zip code to another zip code, could be a qualifying life event. So any major change that has changed your circumstances might be a change where we could then put them on a plan in midstream rather than having to wait for the open enrollment.
Well, in my case, it was the spouse changed jobs and then they lost
Yes.
insurance. And then if I lose insurance but I had insurance, that's an event too.
Yes,
So,
that's also, yeah.
very
If
cool.
you had, yeah.
So I would like to kind of go back to the beginning for a quick second
Okay.
as we kind of wrap up a little bit. I love your philosophy on living a robust life. I love, we're not promised tomorrow. And I feel like I've completely pushed Bill out of this conversation. Sorry, Bill.
It's okay.
I
Listen, this is why we value you in this company.
I just have a passion for this part of the process. And I'm a huge fan of Xperience and a huge fan of you. But it's not just the company or the benefits and all that stuff, but it's the value in life. A lot of people have gone through some pretty hard life events, and it's not necessarily about that could cripple us. We have a choice to make if we want to let that life event devalue us, cripple us, mentally scar us, or we can choose to still live the best life that we possibly have.
Right.
And which is why I've always loved your outlook on that. And we aren't promised tomorrow. There is things that happen. I just had an old friend of mine pass away in a car accident.
Yeah.
They were, just having a vacation
sorry.
time, right? It's difficult. And she was my age, and her husband's still in the hospital, and it's a really bad situation. Yeah. So I chose, similar to you, that I'm going to live as much of my life to the fullest as possible. Live with my family and my friends, have life experiences, maybe spend the money to go on a vacation, maybe, just spend that little extra time with somebody that you may or may not see tomorrow. I just kind of want to hear a little more Judy love for the end of this conversation.
Oh my. Well, it's an easy life if you live in gratitude. It's a very easy path to be on if you embrace the beauty that's in the world. And you're right. None of us have gone through life without some trauma, without some, devastation that has happened. And it should be not what defines us, but what helps us learn from those experiences and how you can grow. I've often said you need to find humor in the tragedies that happen in life. And that sounds bizarre, but there's always something good that comes out of something dark that has happened. And it can't be that you dwell on where you've been in the past. You embrace it and rejoice because it's who you are today because of what experiences you've had. And it's really just to be, having the kernel of truth is, for me at least, is trying every day to help people, to be authentic, to be real. I often say I have 7 heads. Here's all 7 of them with all the warts that are on them, and accept them if you can. 2 of them will be okay. The other we'll put aside. But it truly is. It's a beautiful journey. Yeah. It's something to embrace, and I truly live my life artfully done.
Yes.
No matter what mundane tasks you do in the day, if you do them well and you do them with some heart and beauty in your step, it's a great journey.
Yeah, actually, speaking, you're a wonderful artist. I'm a big fan of your paintings and your artwork. And you brought me this gift today. I'm going to post it online when we air this episode of some of my furry best friends, Oliver and Fletcher. And you painted a wonderful picture. I've got it hanging.
It
right
is
there.
a gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
It's a gorgeous picture.
It brought a tear to my eye. I was like, that is one of the most heartfelt gifts I think I've ever gotten.
Well,
So,
I tried to think in terms of what is the heart and soul of Hole in the Wall, and for some reason it became those boys. It was,
they're part
I
of us.
thought,
They're part of it. That's for sure.
It is. It's your puppies.
well, we thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. Thank you for the gift. But thank you for being here today. I love having you around. Do me a favor. Let's just let everyone know how to get a hold of you or your company.
Easy thing is just on the internet.
It's Xperience with no E at the beginning.
No E at the an X.
Yeah, X.
Kind of like when I look at it, and I don't know if that was the intent because I didn't do the logo, but it looks like a hug. The cross.
The X, yeah.
It
Oh
looks
yeah,
like,
yeah, it does.
yeah, it looks like to me, and I don't know if I have to ask them if that's what they intended, but
We'll go with it.
it will go with that.
The Xperience benefits. And it'll go to the main, because I was on it earlier today, it'll go to the kind of the main corporate site. Is there a direct number for your company, for you?
321-209-3412.
Excellent. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I hope you learned something today. It's been another good episode.
Yeah, Judy's
it's been a
always
pleasure.
gracious, always knowledgeable.
Yeah, we'll come back sometime. We'd love to hear from you again.
I would love to. Thank you.
All right, goodbye, everybody. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.